Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So this evening I was going to continue in a presentation from Sri Brihad Bhagavatamrita, and as I mentioned last week when we were speaking on this subject, that this was to be a continuous discussion. In other words, for those who were not here in the previous two talks that we gave, giving talks leading up to where we're going to begin today, I apologize, but it is, I guess, some talks in a series, and we already gave the background, a little bit of Sri Brihad Bhagavatamrita, its author, its origin, and specifically the personalities who are involved in both speaking and hearing the topics contained therein. And we also tried to give a little bit of not only historical background, but we tried to bring everything into perspective to where we were going to begin reading. So to summarize, it would take, I guess, another 2 classes. So I won't bother to do that today. We'll just simply continue. And maybe just a brief summary. We're going to start reading from the section, the chapter, which is entitled Priya. And Priya means the beloved. And in this chapter, we're going to hear about Narada Muni's visit to Uddhava, who was a very confidential devotee of the Lord. His position or relationship with the Lord is that of being a servant, a friend, an advisor. And he is a very close associate of the Lord in Dwarka. And one of the points which will be brought out by the Yadavas, who are also residents of Dwarka, who are recommending Narada Muni to go see Uddhava, is that Uddhava is always with Krishna. Krishna always takes him wherever he goes, keeps him as a confidential personality. Not only that, but oftentimes seeks advice from him, which of course may be something difficult to understand. How is it the Lord requires to take advice from anyone? But these are the natural types of relationships that exist between the Lord and his devotees according to the various gradations of pure devotional service that exist in the spiritual world. The whole topic of the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, especially in this first section, is describing different levels of excellences that are manifest in the Lord's pure devotees. And all of them, there is a state of excellence, which is that their hearts are devoid of any materialistic ambition. Within their heart, the core of their hearts, they have only one sincere desire, which is to satisfy the Lord. But as we said, there are different stages of excellence, just as it's described by Rupa Goswami in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. There are different stages of perfection. There is perfection, there's more perfection, and there's the most perfect. They're all perfect. In the same way, the relationships that pure devotees have with the Lord, they are all perfect, and the Lord reciprocates with each devotee in accordance with the devotee's desire to have a relationship with the Lord. This is a perfect display of the unlimited variety that exists in the transcendental realm of the spiritual world. It is not that the spiritual world is devoid of variety. the impersonalists, they try to annihilate all different types of variety, because from their experience, experience is that these different types of varieties are the source of suffering, and ultimately they want to make everything null or void and make everything one. Therefore, because of the varieties of types of relationships experienced in this world, and because they have experienced frustration, lack of full satisfaction, therefore they want to nullify variety, and they wish to merge into the impersonal absolute. And even for those, some of them, they merge into the body of the Lord, and some may even desire to merge or to give up their own individuality, simply to not exist. So, and they describe this as liberation. But liberation is not simply the freedom or cessation from all suffering, but for a devotee understands that liberation is the beginning. It is that stage, as Krishna states in Bhagavatamrita, Brahmabhuta prasanatma nasochati nakangshati samaksavesha bhuteshu madbhaktim labhate param. That in this stage of Brahmabhuta, when one becomes freed from all hankering and lamentation, in this stage, the Brahmabhuta stage, that's when he can begin his devotional service. And is also described in the Atmarama verse, Atmaramascha Muniyo Nigranta Apirukrama, is described in the Srimad Bhagavatam, that all different types of liberated personalities, or self-realized souls, situated on the transcendental platform, they derive pleasure from rendering service to Lord Sri Krishna. And this means that Krishna possesses transcendental qualities which can attract everyone, even liberated souls. That is Krishna's nature. Even those who are liberated, it's not that their liberation is simply devoid of variety. Their liberation is filled with variety. And that variety is the description which is given in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, which is the various types of relationships that the Lord reciprocates lovingly with his pure devotees who wish to have a particular type of relationship with the Lord. Specifically in Goloka Vrindavan, the relationships are that of servitorship, friendship, parental affection, and as a lover. These are the relationships that exist at the topmost realm of Goloka, which will be spoken about in these 2 chapters that we're going to read from. As we said that there's different levels of excellence, and the topmost level of excellence is the characteristics of devotion, the characteristic of devotion to service displayed by the residents of Vrindavan. Just like the other day, we had a little break speaking about Brihad Bhagavatamrita on Sunday. I chose to speak on a different subject on that particular day. We were speaking about our God sister, and we gave the example that how when she was asked by the nurse, "Where is your home?" her answer was very simply, "My home is Vrindavan." And of course that would take to explain the background behind that for those who are not here on Sunday would also be a whole talk in of itself, so I cannot explain the whole background. But essentially we were describing how Isha, who had recently had a stroke and lost her memory of much of practically everything connected to this world, but her memory of Krishna and Krishna's devotees and devotional service seemed crystal clear. And therefore, when asked, "What is your home?" her question was, "You mean my real home, don't you?" And the nurse said, "Yes, of course, Vrindavan." So she was speaking about this place, Vrindavan, and that place which she has heard about. She's heard about the residents of Vrindavan and their unique love for Krishna, which was devoid of all of any awe and reverence, and which was filled with spontaneous, ecstatic love, wherein their perception of the Lord is simply in terms of the relationship they have with Him, and in no way are they taking into any consideration that His actual identity is God, which would automatically be disruptive to their spontaneous love. And because of their love which is devoid of awe and reverence, they experience a special type of relationship with Krishna which so fully satisfies Krishna and purchases him and binds him into a loving reciprocal exchange that Krishna becomes totally bound to the degree that he even becomes bewildered by that love and even forgets his own position, his divine position as the Supreme Lord by the power of their love in order to enhance their relationship and his relationship with them. They are always within his heart and he is always seeking them in terms of their relationship they have with him, and the Lord is within their hearts and they are always thinking of him in terms of the relationship. And that is their eternal pleasure. That is their eternal relationship. So the devotees of Vrindavan experience that topmost excellence of spontaneous ecstatic love for Krishna. But yet there are also devotees who are in the transcendental realm of Vaikuntha, where the Lord is worshipped in our reverence, and where his majestic features are more accessible and not only observed, but they're thought about. His majestic features as being God, as being powerful, as being controller, to be the cynosure and predominating deity. And the reverential relationships are more pronounced in the realm of Vaikuntha. And then, of course, as we explained the other day, then there, below that, below Vaikuntha, there is also Shiva Loka, Maheshtam. There is also Mahapurusha, where the Mahapurusha lives, and that place. There's the Devi Dham. There are the heavenly planets where the demigods reside, where the Lord also visits there. And then there are places even in this world where the Lord visits in his form of the Archavigraha, and the Lord is perceived by those who have pure love for him. His presence is perceived in the form of the deity. And they also, the devotees of the Lord, worship the Lord according to their particular relationship. So these are some of the different varieties of relationships that exist in the transcendental realm and exist within the heart of the pure unalloyed devotees. And the place which we're about to come to after our previous quick summary, as we summarized it basically within about a half hour, a journey of covering a distance of many places. We covered it in a half hour. But we came to Vaikuntha and we came to Dwarka, and then Narada Muni, the key personality in all of this. He's key because Narada Muni is looking for that person who is the greatest recipient of Krishna's mercy. And so far, everywhere he's gone, he is seeing the unique features in every devotee of how they have received mercy. He's heard about their glories from other devotees, has been inspired to go and to visit them, and then to pronounce them as the recipient, the greatest recipient of Krishna's mercy. But each time he was to be informed by that personality themselves, by those personalities themselves, excuse me, proper English, that they did not possess love. Their love was inadequate. Their mercy they had received was, they were not qualified to receive it because they considered themselves to be unfit for mercy of the Lord. Although they were unfit, they were in need of more, and much more. And therefore they did not consider themselves in any way, shape, or form that personality that Narada Muni had come to glorify. And therefore, each time they defeated him by first revealing by their own humility, as we described daimyo humility, how they had insufficient qualification to be the recipient of that mercy, and how somebody that they wished to recognize who they saw to be far superior to them, and to possess greater devotion and greater attractive qualities than themselves, they should go there because this person is definitely the one you're looking for, not me. So the last one was Uddhava. And the Yadavas said, Uddhava, you should definitely, and we already gave some reasons, Uddhava is always with Krishna. We're not always with him. He doesn't stay with us. He doesn't wish to be with us as much as he is with Uddhava. Not only that, but the Supreme Lord, as we said, he takes advice from Uddhava. He always keeps Uddhava by his side. Sometimes he may send him on different missions, but they're very personal and confidential missions. The Yadavas, as we were saying, they did not disclose the confidentiality of the mission that Uddhava was sent on, but although for those who know, Uddhava was sent to Vrindavan to meet the residents of Vrindavan. And Krishna sent Uddhava so that Uddhava could get the opportunity to see firsthand the type of love the devotees in Vrindavan have for Krishna. Krishna wanted to. So, sort of like in the guise of using him as a messenger, he also did it for Uddhava's benefit, and the result of that Sangha that Uddhava got in Vrindavan when he sent a message telling all these devotees of Vrindavan, don't worry, Krishna has sent me to tell you that he's going to come back and he's going to see all of you again. That when he went to Nanda Maharaj and Yasoda, then he went to the Kaur boys, and then when he went to the gopis, and he perceived the ecstatic symptoms of love manifest in the gopis, then his conclusion was that I simply pray that I take my birth as a blade of grass here in Vrindavan so that these gopis will step on my head constantly. And so by their stepping on my head, I may obtain the dust from their lotus feet, because he could definitely see that the gopis manifested the supreme topmost love, unalloyed love, devoid of any personal selfish desires, and the willingness to sacrifice for Krishna beyond anyone else in his perception. So of course Uddhava feels that way, so obviously when Narada goes to Uddhava, it's not going to stop there. Narada is not going to find a conclusion to all of this in Uddhava, but Uddhava is going to open up a whole panorama for him to show him who really is, who really is the person who gets that topmost mercy from Krishna. So, and that mercy, of course, it's inexplicable in one sense. It can be explained, and it is explained, but the only person who can explain it, as we will see, is Krishna himself. And therefore Narada Muni is setting the stage, and Uddhava is also participating to set the stage, to let the Supreme Lord himself speak himself in his own words, which are undisputable. When the Lord speaks in his own words, not only will he speak in his own words, but he will display the power of the love of these devotees and the mercy they have by in a very wonderful way. I won't disclose it. In a very wonderful way. So Ugrasena says, go to Uddhava, and he gives all his reasons. And I only gave briefly a few. Some of the other reasons is that Uddhava is so much absorbed in Krishna that he actually has the same bodily features as Krishna. Anyways, these are some of the things. So I'm going to start reading from it's 6:45. I felt bound to at least give that much of a summary before beginning to read. I'm going to start reading from chapter 6, Priyatama, the most beloved. So, as we explained, that these verses are translations of Sanatana Goswami's Brihad Bhagavatamrita, and the commentaries are Sanatana Goswami's own commentaries on the very same book that he himself had compiled. So Sri Parikshit said, Parikshit Maharaj, as we explained the other day, is speaking to his mother Uttara, who Parikshit Maharaj had heard this entire. He was speaking to Uttara, telling her the essence of everything that he learned from Shukadeva Goswami, just about 1 hour before he was to leave his body. Uttara rushed to the scene because she knew that her son had been cursed to die by the bite of a snake bird, and he willingly accepted that curse. And therefore he dedicated 7 days and 7 nights to continuously hear Srimad Bhagavatam on the banks of the Ganges from the lips of Shukadeva Goswami. And Uttara came to that place and wanted to get the essence. So Parikshit is speaking to his mother, telling her, Noble mother, after hearing Ugrasena's advice, Narada, the dear devotee of Lord Mahavishnu, became absorbed in the taste of exalted love of God, which seized him in its grip. Forgetting everything else, he started off, Veena in his hand. Having spent much time before in Dwarka, Narada automatically took the familiar roads to the center of the city, amazing roads that led to the neighborhood of the Lord's palaces, and came to a palace of Krishna's that he knew how to reach from earlier visits. Under the spell of intense transcendental agitation, Narada seemed like an ordinary person haunted by a ghost. Of course, this description, although not mentioned in Sanatana Goswami's commentary, we're understanding that Narada Muni has been captured in a very ecstatic state of mind. Having heard the glories of the Lord's devotees, he's experiencing ecstatic symptoms, and the nature of one when he experiences ecstatic symptoms is that he loses consciousness of his surroundings. And internally, he's experiencing these different types of bhavas, which are called sattvika bhavas. Sometimes there's trembling of the body, there's tears coming to the eyes, there's horripilation of the body, and there's hairs standing on end. And these are all different types of ecstatic symptoms which are manifested in pure devotees who are situated in the platform of Shuddha Sattva, and within whose hearts the Shuddha Sattva has entered and has stimulated these different types of excellences. So Narada Muni, he experiences these ecstatic symptoms. Sometimes 1, 2, or 3 may manifest in the body of an unalloyed devotee, and in some devotees, even sometimes all 8 symptoms can manifest at once. And the result is that pralaya will manifest. That pralaya is a state of devastation. One just loses consciousness. And there are many examples if one reads the descriptions of Chaitanya Charitamrita, and how, of course, Lord Chaitanya himself, he manifested the highest state of Mahabhava, which was a very inflamed state of ecstasy, where sometimes all these 8 ecstasies would all manifest simultaneously in him, and his body would undergo transformations. These descriptions are given in Chaitanya Charitamrita, and they're given not in any way to take cheaply, that one should not think that these ecstatic symptoms can be manifested or imitated. And in fact, Rupa Goswami himself in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, he takes great pain to describe what is not Sattvika Bhava also, just so that persons who are interested in capturing an audience, or interested in name and fame, or thinking that, or sahajya, which means one who takes devotional service cheaply, if they think that they can manifest such symptoms, Rupa Goswami gives the indication of how one can actually perceive false manifestations of ecstatic love. And therefore they cannot in any way be imitated, and neither should we think that we're qualified to experience it. It is something which manifests of its own accord, and it manifests by its own will. And therefore it's not a deliberate attempt to think, now I will manifest Sattvika Bhavas. No. And in fact, it's described in the in Chaitanya Bhagavat, especially in the story of Haridas Thakur, when there was one envious Brahmin who was observing Haridas Thakur, who was manifesting real ecstatic symptoms. But he was thinking Haridas Thakur took a very low birth. He took birth in the family of meat eaters, and I'm a Brahmin. And when Haridas Thakur was hearing the glories of Lord Ananta, he lost consciousness and fell on the ground in ecstasy. And when he came back to external consciousness, he was very embarrassed by what happened, and he immediately left that place because he was not looking for any kind of glorification or recognition. But when he was during that time when he was manifesting those symptoms, everyone was simply standing and watching him with palms folded in great reverence. And the Brahmin envious was thinking, I am a Brahmin. He's such low birth. He's getting so much recognition. So after Haridas Thakur left, he also decided that he was going to manifest such symptoms. But when he tried to manifest symptoms, the personality who had invoked these symptoms in Haridas Thakur by his recitation immediately could understand it was all pretentious. And he began beating the Brahmin with a stick. And the Brahmin, of course, his ecstasy was not very deep. Because he began crying out, not in ecstasy, but in anger and in fear and frustration, calling out for help and running away from that place in fear for his life. And when all the other personalities asked this snake, it was a snake charmer actually, who was reciting the glories of Anantashesha, when he asked him, why is it that when Haridas Thakur fell on the ground in ecstasy, you stood in reverence and waited for him to come to external consciousness, but when this Brahmin did, you beat him with sticks? And he explained everything and just simply utilized his mouth for glorifying the real devotional qualities of Haridas Thakur. And he disclosed the inner mentality of the so-called Brahmin who falsely manifested such symptoms. So Narada Muni was manifesting real symptoms. And under the spell of this intense transcendental agitation, he seemed like an ordinary person hunted by a ghost, but actually he was not even conscious of his surroundings. So then the question may be asked, if he was not conscious of his surroundings, then how did he go directly to the Lord? Sanatana Goswami will answer that question. As this chapter describes, what Narada says to Uddhava and the other devotees in Dwarka inspires them to discuss the present situation in Braj. Overhearing these talks, Krishna becomes bewildered in ecstatic love. When Narada left Hastinapur for Dwarka, he could think only of how wonderful are Krishna and his devotees. He picked up his veena, but was too distracted to play it. How then did he manage to find his way to Dwarka and Krishna's palaces? He managed because he had gone there many times before. He took the right roads even without paying attention. As the road to the inner city approached the royal quarters, it assumed a bewildering appearance and took many unusual turns, making it a road ordinarily impossible for non-residents to follow. Narada seemed oblivious of what he was doing and managed to arrive at his destination only because he was accustomed to the route. The truth is, however, that when one is conducted helplessly, quote unquote, under the control of pure love of God, one actually understands everything perfectly. He certainly cannot forget the way to reach the personality of Godhead. That is Sanatana Goswami's explanation. No one can forget how to reach the Lord. Of course, the Lord helps from within the heart. We all spoke about that also on Sunday, I think. We spoke about how we were giving Prabhupada's definition of our answer to the question of that devotee had asked Srila Prabhupada. Krishna says in the verse in the Bhagavad Gita that he's seated within everyone's heart and is directing the wanderings of all living beings who are seated on a machine, as on a machine made of material energy. And the devotee asked Prabhupada, if Krishna is directing the wanderings of everyone, then why do we have to make any effort? If Krishna is just going to direct us, then it seems like whatever we do won't make any difference anyway. So, and Prabhupada said, yes, that is true, but you forgot another verse that Krishna spoke in the Bhagavad Gita, ye yatamam prapajante tang sataiva bhajamyaham. As they surrender unto me, I will reward them accordingly. So he said, therefore we should understand that yes, Krishna directs everyone, but for those who are surrendered, Krishna directs in one way, and for those who are not surrendered, Krishna directs in a different way. But he's directing everyone. So those who are not surrendered, Krishna directs in a way which we described on Sunday, and for those who are surrendered, Krishna also directs in a way to bring the devotee to him. So that is how Krishna is directing everyone. And for those who are surrendered, and we spoke of the ways that one could be surrendered, especially, most essentially, the one symptom of surrender is to speak about Krishna always, to hear about Krishna, and to chant about Krishna, and to not be interested, or to not to be overly absorbed in the affairs of this world. That is the symptom of surrender. And then the Lord acts from within the heart to bring the devotee to him. So certainly if the devotee will act in the heart of a devotee who is surrendering in this way, then certainly someone who is surrendered as Narada Muni will very easily find his way to the Lord's palace, even though he's oblivious to what's going on around him. And that's what Sanatana Goswami, that is his conclusion in his commentary to this verse. It is already 7:04, and we will continue tomorrow. For anyone interested in hearing more, we will speak more from this Brihad Bhagavatamrita tomorrow evening at 6 o'clock. So if anyone would like to ask any questions in the next 3 minutes, or a comment, you are welcome to do so. Yes, Sabyasachi?
I have a question. When Krishna directs those who are not surrendering to him, what exactly does he do to the consciousness? Does he instill faith in sinful activity, or he kind of...
Oh, we said what he does. He actually just remains silent. Right? He tries. He gives his warning. Don't do this, but we don't listen. We gave that example of a persistent child. When a persistent child who cannot do anything without the parent's sanction, because the supersoul functions both as a witness and as a sanctioner. So that is the two functions of the supersoul. So the supersoul, in the form of, conscious, you may say, no, don't do this, and I can't hear that. What do you mean? We're driven. Like Arjuna asked the question, well, what compels a person to act even in a way sometimes contradictory to his own power, his own control, his own will? And Krishna says it is lust only, Arjuna, which is born of contact with the modes of passion, later transformed into wrath, which is the all-devouring sinful enemy of this world. And Krishna goes on to describe what a lust is situated within the heart, within the senses. And so, therefore, the conscience will be there, but if we cannot hear, then Krishna will remain silent, and it says, okay, then at your own risk. He allows the living entity to do that which he is driven to do. And through the agency of material nature, the Lord gives him sanction. Because nobody can do anything without the Lord's sanction. Not a blade of grass can move without the will of the Lord. So the Lord gives the living entity his choice and then gives him the facility. That is also the Lord's arrangement. It says, okay, at your own risk. Now you have it. I warned you, but now you can have it. And therefore, through the agency of material nature, the Lord is super soul, who is the witness. And through the material nature, Maya, the facility, the enticement, and everything else is there. And submission because we fail to hear, also follow suit, and then reaction follows as well. So the Lord simply continues to witness and then fashions. So it's not that the Lord dictates in that way that, to give him faith in it. He already has faith in sense gratification. He doesn't have faith in the Lord. So although the example is given in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that when one worships the demigods, I from within their heart, I make their faith steady so they can continue to worship in a resolute way. So yes, Krishna does give them the resolution to worship a particular demigod and to get the fruits of their sacrifice. In that sense, yes, that's there. But as far as faith and Maya, that's already been chosen at a previous time, and the living entity is just simply turned away and has placed his faith in the illusory energy of the Lord. So I didn't want to speak too long. I wanted to give just it's already 7 o'clock, and it's time for Artik. So if there's any other questions, either tomorrow or maybe later today, there might be time. Thank you. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.